What's up, guys? I recently uploaded a guitar cover of Sabrina Carpenter's Bed Chem, doing things kind of inspired by Tim Henson and a lot of other modern players. And if you guys in the comments actually asked me to do a tutorial on it, I happen to love making tutorials, so I figured I would talk about what I did coming up with this sort of modern guitar version of a vocal melody, and how you can kind of take those same concepts and do the same thing for yourself in either your regular solo playing or if you're trying to cover other melodies yourself. So anyway, we're gonna start off with the part of the melody where she says, "But I bet we'd have really good bed chem," you know, like the right beginning of the chorus. So it sounds like this. And that was a little, yeah. That's the tricky part of this. So we're starting on the 7th fret of the D, and there's a little chucking in there to kind of accent the dynamics of the vocals, because you could just do, but it sounds less colorful that way, right? So we hit that a few times, slide up to the 9th, and then hammer on to the 11th, and then hit the 9th of the G. And then we're going to be playing 2 chords, and for this, you know, the vocal is just doing this. It sounds really nice with Sabrina's vocals, but there's more music there, right? So in order to kind of fill this up, I wanted to listen to what is going on in the background of the song. So you can hear the first, it's kind of like a 9 chord we're making with this G. So we have this 10th fret G on the A string, and then we have the 3rd, which is the 9th fret on the D string. And then we're gonna have this this A note, which is the bed chem note. And that's gonna be the 9th fret on the B string right here. So that's the first, the word bed, but then the chord changes when it gets to chem. And I actually do, there's this little half step in there, and at least from what I was hearing, that's actually in the track. And it's a great thing to include because it really adds the harmony underneath this vocal note. So what I'm playing here is the 11th fret on the D string, and a half step up, we're gonna have, not a fret up, but a half step note-wise, the 7th on the G. So we have this kind of crispy dissonance right here. And then we still have that same 9th fret note on the B string, that A note. So we have that. And the tricky part is switching from this to that and not getting this middle note kind of covered up by your pinky. That's the tricky part of it for me. Like even there, that took me a few takes when I was recording the video for it. And that's the beginning of the melody. So basic concepts there are obviously first identifying the notes of the melody, which is, and then finding ways to both accent the vocal dynamics as well as fill in, you know, the chord structure and what's going on so far, like with these chords that we're having. There you go. Anyway, so next up is the put me down. So I'm pretty sure that melody in the song is harmonized in octaves. Pretty sure it is. And I do something pretty similar. I use octaves, but I sort of go up and down between the octaves by hybrid picking. So it sounds like this. So that's the next segment. So we're starting on the, I'll just show you the octaves themselves. We're just going down the scale. This is in D major, B minor, whatever you want to think of it as. So we're starting on the 12th fret of the G string, which is octaved on the, is octave a verb? It's octaved on the, what is this? The 15th fret of the high E. So then we go 12, 15, down to 11, 14, down to, what is this, 9, 12, down to 7, 10, and then down to 6, 9. And the way I'm picking that is I'm picking with a downstroke on the G string, and then plucking with my middle finger, you can use your ring finger also, on the high E, like that. And I'm letting them ring out together. So we go, and then slide down. So I pick, pluck, pick, slide down. So, and then we repeat. And it sounds like that. And then I finish that phrase, so that's, oh, put me down when I'm obsessed. So the end of that part of the melody just, in the vocal, just ends with, same as before, like, Bed Chem, well, it does do this. So the melody would be, but again, that's kind of boring, and this is another one of my favorite concepts that people like Tim Henson use when they cover songs like this, is to fill in empty space. Especially if you're just doing a vocal melody and you're trying to highlight the other instruments that are in the song anyway, then it makes it really a good thing to do, to just fill in space with either additional melodic notes to transition between phrases, or to kind of switch between playing the melody and playing the backing rhythm. So what I do here after the, I messed that up a little bit, but, so that's still part of the melody, but I didn't tell you what that is yet. We're sliding from the 7th fret on the high E up to the 9th, and then we're going to pick the 9th and immediately slide down to the 7th again, and then immediately pull off to the 5th, and then pull off to open. So it looks like this. So. So that second slide from the 9th to the 7th is a grace note. But it sounds a lot better than, it has that niana kind of little sound effect that sounds really nice. And then from there we do a hammer-on from nowhere to the 7th of the G, slide that down to the 6th, and then hammer-on from nowhere to the 7th of the D. And then we're going to pick through an A major triad with the high, like that, with 7 on the D, 6 on the G, and then 5th on the B and E. So it sounds like this. There I did a hammer. I forget if I slide that or if I think that's how I did it, is by sliding. I had to relearn this to make this video because I made the actual video of the cover a while ago. So like that. The next part is the, are you free next week? Or actually no, the first time she says like, when you're talking so sweet and you're doing bad things, that's bad. So that part, the melody in the song is just like that basically. So I figured I would make that more interesting by playing it in 2 different octaves, but I kind of selectively go back and forth between the octaves. And this is another really cool thing you can do to make melodies more interesting, is just keep the same sequence of notes that makes the melody what it is, but switch up the octaves however you like. You can see stuff like this with more of an arpeggio concept, or the arpeggio is more of like the melody, but it still does the octave thing in Playing God towards the end. They do that, Polyphia's Playing God. So anyway, the way I play this is we start on, as I play it like this, I'll just play it for you. Like that. Okay, so the way I do that is, first we play the first 2, we're going to play 2 F sharps. So there's one on the 9th fret of the A string right here, and then we're going to play the octave by plucking with our middle finger again on the 11th of the G. And that's immediately going to slide up to the 14th on the G. Excuse me, no, that's to the 16th. Like that. Like that. And then with our ring finger, this you actually do want to make sure you pluck the G string note that we did before here with your middle finger, because you want your ring finger free to pluck the B string, which we're about to do. And we're going to be plucking the B string on the 14th fret. And then you have to do a little roll here to to go back to 14 on the G, and then slide down to the 11. When I did this, I had to practice this a lot because this is probably the hardest part. So then we're on the 11th on the G, and now we're going to go down an octave to the F sharp on the 14 of the E. So like that. Pick it twice, and then we're going to do grace note slide from the 12th fret of the A string up to the 14 of the A string, then pick the 16, then slide down to the 12, and then we're going to pluck the 11 on the G. And this is really where we're kind of jumping in between octaves because the melody would want to go. But we're going to this F sharp up here an octave higher. So, and then this time we're going to slide to 14 after we pluck that. So all together, slowly, it goes like this. Like that. Takes a lot of practice to get that clean, as you can tell. And then the next part is back in the melody where she says, Bed Chem again. But in this part, there's a little call and answer backup vocal that goes, Bed Chem. So it actually does a whole step above the first note, and then it repeats the second note in kind of an off rhythm. And that note in general, like that part where she says Bed Chem, is very soft in the vocals. So I decided to use natural harmonics here for it. Again, if you're watching like Tim Henson and these kind of modern players doing this kind of stuff, there's tons of natural harmonics. Honestly, way more than I use in this song. Natural harmonics and open strings, which we're going to see soon, are a big part of this style. So I'm going to use the natural, well, let me play it for you. It sounds like this. So basically, the first note, there's like two groups of two notes here. Each first note is just the that melody, which we're going to be playing on the harmonic here on the 7th fret of the D. So we're essentially playing that, but then we're doing the call and answer as well. So the call and answer we're going to do with the 12th fret harmonic on the B string. Then we're going to go back to that 7th fret D harmonic. And then pluck, and I'm plucking the B string in each case here. Picking the D string, plucking the B. So we have this, again, 10th fret note on the B string for that same A that we keep hitting for the word chem. So, like that. And then we're almost done, so it goes back in the melody to the part where it goes. So instead of doing the same thing as before, because this is another thing that you can see, we have repeating phrases in the melody, like the bed chem, but I didn't do that twice. Actually, I don't think it does that twice in the song anyway. But a big thing that I'm a fan of with covers like this is never playing the same melody the same way twice, because you really have the opportunity to mix up the way you're playing it on the guitar, especially with octaves, harmonics, etc., etc. So this time, instead of doing like all that, I use these little arpeggios. This part is actually, maybe this is the hardest part of it, but so it sounds like this. So it's tough to get that clean. We're doing like arpeggio is still outlining that progression of the melody down the scale. But this time we're doing little arpeggios with pull-offs. So first we're going to have, it's a D major arpeggio. Well, like from the D suspended, essentially. D sus4, if you will. So we're playing 14 on the G, 15 on the B, and then we're going to play 15 on the E and pull off to 14 on the E. And sometimes I roll my middle finger to get between these two notes. Sometimes I'll just do this. Whatever you feel more comfortable with is fine. And I don't really even sweep that. I just kind of downstroke it, but you could sweep it. And then we have an A major arpeggio with the suspended 6th. So we're doing 14, 14, 14, pull off 12. And you could roll all of that or play it like this. And then the same thing going down to a G major arpeggio. Again with the suspended 6, 12, 12, 12, pull off 10. And now we have another A major arpeggio with the suspended 4th this time in second inversion. So we're going to have G string 9th, B string 10th, E string 10th, pull off 9. Kind of sounds like that old Nokia ringtone. And then there's a part that I actually played one note slightly different from the way I wrote it when I recorded the short for it. But we're going to have this hammer on. And this part is just kind of out of the, this is all just kind of improvised around the melody. It's not really playing the melody, but. So what we're going to do is we're going to hammer on pull off from E string 7th to 9th, like that. Then we're going to hammer on from nowhere to 10th on the B with our pinky, and then pluck the open E string. In the recording, I just played this E string note on the 9th fret of the G out of habit. I did like that. It's the same melody, but I think it's cooler with the open string. So, and then we're going to do, it's kind of going down suspension of an A major. So we're going to go from 7th on the G. So slide that down to 6th. And then play 7 on D and then 7, and then 7 on A. And then we're going to play this power chord. So that's 7 on A, 7 on D, 9 on G, and 10 on B. And then it just goes to the, are you free next week? Which before we did in all that kind of crazy, you know, octave ways, but this time we're just going to play it straight. So we're going to be on the 9th fret of the A string, pick it twice. Then again, grace note slide from the 7 on the D to the 9. And then we're going to play the 11. And then with your pinky, 12 on A, slide down to 9. And then, I bet we'd have really good, I bet we'd have really good, is how the melody ends. And that we're going to do this time harmonized. So before we just had, but we're actually going to do that with, you know, a 5th below. Or you could look at it as 4ths. So it's the 7 on A and D. Do that same little chuck in there. Kind of same way that we were playing it, but just now harmonized with this low 5th. Slide both of those up to 9, so 9 on A and D. And then we're going to hammer on to 12 on the A and 11 on the D. And that's a 3rd there. Because then we're just going to play the rest of this, not that note, we're going to play the rest of this A triad here, these 3 notes. So that's the 12 on the A, the 11 on the D, and the 9 on the G. And that's how I end it. So hopefully you can see a lot of the thought process that goes into, this is much simpler than something that like Tim Henson or Ichi Kanito or one of these guys would do, but you can take a simple melody from a pop song, add, you know, elements of the backing rhythms and other parts of the songs, add potential harmonies to the vocals, and play it in a very guitar way, the most guitar way possible, and you get something really cool. And you can do this with so many different songs. And I encourage you to do the same. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments, and maybe I'll upload something else soon. Bye-bye.